On this channel, we have taken a look at a lot of different failed sitcom pilots, and we're kicking off 2024 by doing much of the same. This time, we're taking a gander at the attempted American version of Absolutely Fabulous, coming from the ripe old year of 2009. The original Absolutely Fabulous was created by Jennifer Saunders in 1992, based on an earlier sketch by French and Saunders. The basic premise of the show is that the traditional sitcom roles of a mother and her teenage daughter have been reversed. The mother is unorganised, disrespectful and lazy, whilst the daughter is hardworking, uptight and proper. The series stars Jennifer Saunders as Eddie, Julia Sawalha as her daughter Safi, and Joanna Lumley as Patsy, her drunken former model best friend. The series was very successful, with 5 main series, a number of specials, as well as a movie released in 2016. The show built its comedy around subverting audience expectations, not only of the mother and daughter dynamic, but in other areas too, such as the fact that Eddie is lazy and not smart, yet is unexpectedly very wealthy, and it continued doing this throughout its run. In 2008, it was announced that Fox was looking to do an American version of Absolutely Fabulous, renamed to just Ab Fab. By the middle of 2009, this pilot had come and gone, with Fox passing on the series after all. It was long thought to be lost, but recently it's been leaked online, and today we're going to review the pilot. If you want to watch the whole thing yourself, without my commentary, you can head on over to the channel on screen now, but it would be nice if you came back after. This is apparently the second attempt of making an American version of Ab Fab, with a version starring Carrie Fisher apparently being conceived earlier, but there really isn't much information about that one online. So, the pilot starts and we get a really terrible opening theme. Can't complain too much, it is a pilot and they are usually just templates rather than the real thing. We then see our replacements for Jennifer Saunders and Julia Sawalha, with Kathryn Hahn playing Eddie and Zosha Mehmet playing Safi. The dynamic between these two characters is supposed to be the same as the original. Effectively, their roles are reversed. The first few jokes don't really land that well, and I think perhaps the acting is a little bit over the top.
You don't smoke, do you, Saffron?
Of course not.
Oh, damn it! God, Mommy needs one bad.
Why don't you calm down with some nice herbal tea?
Oh, I've tried that, honey. It doesn't stay lit.
I think the American actor's approach to Ab Fab was more in line with sketch show acting, i.e. jump around, be silly and goofy, and get the laugh. That isn't necessarily the worst choice, and the original isn't exactly very serious, but when it's acted like a sketch rather than a sitcom, it feels like it goes on forever, as a sketch normally only lasts a few minutes. Patsy then walks in and is now played by Kristen Johnston. This wasn't perhaps the best casting decision in my mind. Patsy Stone as a character is supposed to be someone who was a model in their youth, before becoming a fashion director, but actually doing basically nothing, just winging along in life based on their earlier achievements, remaining a party girl forever. Joanna Lumley pulls that off perfectly, but this version doesn't give off that sort of vibe. Instead it feels as if one of those terrible wall decals sprung to life and became sentient, with the same level of wit. This next joke pretty much proves my point.
Yeah. I mean, what am I gonna do? Get a trainer? That's not how I roll.
Hello. That's not how I roll? Oh, I like that.
Isn't it cute?
Real cute.
Yeah. And it really comes in handy. Like, say you're walking down the street and someone says, "Could you spare $1 for a sandwich?"
Ooh, that's not how I roll.
Exactly.
Really? Did I get it? I did.
Hey! I'm trying to study. Can you keep it down?
That's not how I roll.
Yes!
Did I get it?
Safi's character is more or less the same, but they toned down the character a little bit, and she's just sort of normal, instead of being ultra sensible and boring. They talk a little bit more about nothing really, and then they head off to buy a magazine which holds some kind of list that they believe they will be a part of. They buy the magazine and head back to read it. I must admit, even though I think the approach isn't the best, both of the actors did bring a lot of energy to the roles. They were clearly trying, and the pilot works best when they interact with other people, as it gives their manic energy something to contrast against.
Watch on it?
No. Oh, I found it. It's a hit. Good.
Hey! Hey!
Up.
Quite a lot of the show is them just cooped up in the flat, and it doesn't work as well when they're clearly trying to go for more physical comedy. So they open the magazine and it turns out neither of them made the list. They have a minor paddy before Safi tells them the reason for their demise. In the original, Safi always had quite a bite to her, and her jabs could be quite vicious in a way, but in this version the actress just seems to talk so nicely and quietly that it's hard to see how anyone could be too offended by her attacks.
You deserve this.
The world has changed, and you've been in a pill and Chardonnay fog coasting on your past successes. You've basically become irrelevant because you haven't got a clue about what the current zeitgeist is.
Why, it's chic
Lots of ruby
bohemian
belts,
skirts,
wine tasting trips, seasonal
leather
orgies.
vegan.
No! It's humanitarianism, charitable causes. People now don't want to get noticed just for being fabulous. It's vulgar.
You're scaring Mommy.
Eddie and Patsy clearly do get offended though, and sit down to have a drink of wine and discuss their problems. Again, they're really just talking about nothing. There's not really jokes here, and it doesn't advance the plot. They just seem to speak in a vaguely comedic way. I don't get it. They finally realise that in order to become relevant again, they need to change, which sets up the next scene. They visit a shop, and after looking around, realise they need to be more charitable, so decide to do a restaurant opening in support of Africa. There's a little joke here at the end, which, again, just feels like it's straight out of a sketch show.
Africa.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Chills. Nips don't lie.
In the next scene, they discuss how they've hired a black person to look good for diversity purposes. They bumble around making various comments to the assistant before they tell Safi about the restaurant opening, who doesn't seem very impressed. En route to the restaurant they break down before they make some jokes about the area. This is supposed to be Calabasas in California, and I'm sure if I knew anything about the area I might have found that joke funny, but I don't, so it didn't land for me.
A dusty, unforgiving nightmare. I think the restaurant's over there.
Africa should have a benefit for Calabasas.
They try and walk to the restaurant and find themselves outside some shops where they almost get arrested for smoking before pepper spraying the police officer and running across the road. I do admit, I quite like this part. Like I mentioned earlier, the show almost works when these characters are out in public, just being manic around normal people. So this series of events did give me a few little smiles. After making it across the road, they start inexplicably falling down a big hill before making it to their destination. Again, thought this bit was okay. I'm always a sucker for silly people fall over. In the kitchen of the restaurant, they start eating butter before talking about how fabulous they are, which is a bit on the nose for a show based on Absolutely Fabulous. The police track them down and they get arrested before Safi bails them out and gives them a good talking to. They realise that their arrest went viral and made them famous again, and that they don't need to change after all. Eddie ends the episode by talking about how bad Calabasas is, which, again, might be funny if I knew anything about that place.
I never knew how much pain and suffering goes on as most of the world just turns their backs.
Really?
Yes. There are people out there that are being denied the simplest of humane conditions.
I know.
An unforgiving nightmare of blistering heat and strangulating sandstorms.
Uh-huh.
A world where people have lost the right to smoke. Even outside.
Okay. That's not what I thought you meant. But feeling sorry for Calabasas is real growth for you.
So you're proud of me, right?
They then throw in one more wine o'clock joke for good measure, and that sees us out.
That's how I roll.
So, that was the pilot for Ab Fab, and it wasn't very good. I can't say it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I've definitely seen far worse sitcoms to make it to a full series and find an audience, and I suppose it's possible this one would have as well. Really, the pilot just didn't find its footing. It only had 3 main characters, and none of them seemed to form much of a dynamic. It did have some funny moments, but that was more down to the effort put in by the actresses, and it wouldn't have been enough to sustain a whole show. It just really feels kind of directionless, and the writing really lets it down, with a lot of naff jokes that were dated even in 2009. It's quite strange they even attempted this really, as Ab Fab was a fairly well known show at the time in America amongst those who were fans of sitcoms. So much so that Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley appeared as their characters for the show on an episode of Roseanne, which they wouldn't have done if nobody knew who they were. There was actually a French remake of the show in the form of a movie called Absolument Fabuleux, which looks pretty wild. Let me know if you want me to take a look at that on the channel sometime. Alright, I think that's enough for today. Thanks for watching this video, and give me a subscribe and stuff if you want more things like this on your YouTube screens. Goodbye.